I got so much from the day. At the end of the day, I walked away thinking, well, if I don't get offered a place, I've learnt so much from it. The different stages throughout the day that you go through and presenting your monologues and getting feedback and learning a lot. So you can walk away from the end of the day going, right, I've learnt something if I want to audition again or for other drama schools. But I was very lucky to get offered a place. It's an exciting time. You're learning everything for the first time and meeting everybody and new people, and everything's new and the environment's new, and the material's new, and everything you're doing is it's got a squeaky clean feel to it, but you don't feel squeaky clean yourself. You feel like you're in this pond, and that's just part of something bigger, so you're sort of trying to find your feet. But one of the great things is that you get chucked in at the deep end. Definitely my favourite production was the panto. We did Jack and the Beanstalk with a superhero theme, and I remember my character was called Archie, but his superhero alter ego was called Marble Archie, which it's such ridiculous fun, and it's a unique experience to the academy. No other drama schools do pantos, and technically and yourself as an actor and physically, it is one of the most challenging things to do, to compete with an audience who are very much encouraged to shout at you and shout over you, and to compete with them and to do 3 shows a day. One of the things that I've really learned from the academy is to put 100% into absolutely everything you do. Nothing is unworthy of your time and commitment. Everything you do, if you put 100% into it, an audition, do your work, read the script, learn the lines, do the research, do as much work as you can on it, walk in, give it your all, and you can walk away knowing that you did your best, and if you didn't get it, it wasn't your fault, because you did the work. You are entering into a world that you think you know, but that you can know better. I don't think anyone is at a place where they can know everything about everything, even if that's your craft and something that you're good at, or something that you excel in, or something that you want to excel in. Drama school gives the opportunity to excel and to be the best you can be, and to equip yourself with the tools and the experience and the love of what you do, and that's what the academy did for me. It gave me an appreciation of what I do and what I love to do and what I've always wanted to do, and now I'm doing it.
Humans is a show that very much focuses on the effect of what the creation of a synthetic human being would have on society, and that involves these beings being integrated into the family, into the workplace, and into the general society, and what it means suddenly for example, in the family setting, for a mother to realise that a synthetic creation can be a mother better than her, can cook better than her. What is it like for a policeman to discover that suddenly these synthetic beings can service better than him, can achieve a better shot? My character comes into this story from a conflicted point of view. There's a lot of questions for himself that he has to answer, and there's going to be a lot of questions for the audience that they're going to want answered. But his journey is about finding answers, it's about finding things. He's a man on a mission. He's trying to reconcile parts of himself that are a mystery to himself. There's a lot of ambiguity around him, whether it's connected to the technology or not is something that I think is to be discovered. But it's certainly the synthetic qualities and how he feels about it, and the merging of the technology both with humans and in society is something I think that all the characters are trying to deal with. He comes at it, I think, from a very personal point of view because of his past, which will become a little bit clear as the show goes on. He's very much on the run. You understand in the series exactly why that is. but he does not have any home comforts. He's probably very much looking for a home. What the word, what that word means, that's probably a big theme of his character, is searching for that. Yeah, I think Leo's more. He's more on that action mode. I'd say part of the section of the show in terms of car chases and fight scenes and that aspect, which is always great. I think we always like that aspect, but never just because we'd like to see a car chase or we'd like to see a fight scene. There's always, but we always do. But there's a reason for it. He's not just being this the last action hero. But that he's a man who'll do whatever it takes to get what he wants, get what he needs. For me, it was important to come along and just watch a bit of it and interact a little bit to see how I responded to it, because I think we are such reactionary beings anyway, that we accommodate for who we talk to in subtle ways, and so of course we do subconsciously mimic each other a little bit, and I think whenever interacting with synthetic, the last thing you want to be doing is actually doing a little bit of it yourself and trying to be a little bit like them. I'm very, very fortunate that the right things have been there at the right time. At the same time, I only ever do something if it kind of provokes some sort of emotional response in me. And I've been lucky that those things have been there at the time I've needed to. And I never try and put something on a character. I always try and see what it does to me. And if a character sort of evokes some sort of transformation or some sort of variance in itself, then that's something that's always attractive to me in a role. Another thing that is also just a compelling story, something that is just extremely well written and has clearly had a lot of work put into it. Possibly. We're discussing at the minute, and I think they're due to start in November time. I think. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, maybe within the next couple of weeks I'll be able to give an answer. I was a massive fan of the first season, and whenever I met up with Alan Cuba and Julian, producer, it was a no-brainer for me. It was a chance to be a part of a wonderful homegrown drama that I was already a fan of, and the scripts once again, were so compelling. I wanted to know what was happening, and also Alan wanted to collaborate. He just left himself very open to me, and I did email constantly with suggestions and character things in this, and he was just open to that collaborative process. And that was one of my first experiences of what I got when I first got into acting, which was working on new plays, new drama, and working with a director and a writer who was open to things changing and being fluid and actor suggestions. And it was the first really, I suppose, truly creative project on TV, collaborative project on TV that I experienced.
Well, I think the sort of stereotypical view of Merlin as a character has always been the old man with the grey beard, the sort of elder advisor of Arthur, and the sort of spin that we're taking on it this time is obviously Merlin in his younger days as a young boy, finding his way in life, finding his way in a new city in Camelot, and he's very much a bit of a country boy who ends up coming to this great city where he suddenly finds out he can't use his one gift, magic. He arrives in Camelot and witnesses a horrific incident which basically makes it very, very clear to him magic's a no-go in Camelot. Yes, Arthur and me get off to a pretty rough start. I end up insulting him, not realising who he is.
Therefore, that does not go down well with Arthur at all. He's the king's son. He's the prince of Camelot. Merlin should not have done what he did to him. So, from the get-go, it's a no-go with Arthur. Well, very much, I think, within this series, certainly within this first series, we're very much focusing on these new experiences and new things. And of course, I think as the characters do grow, their experiences become more defined, and they will look at things in a more mature way. As in terms of where the scripts are going, we have no idea. It's as much a surprise to us as to the audience. And but certainly the writing is fantastic, and we get it's like Christmas whenever an episode comes through, because you're getting to see it for the first time. And so we're just very excited about where it's all going to go. Well, I was very excited to get to do my first stunt, because it was my first stunt on this show, first stunt ever, really. So whenever they were linking me up, I was well excited about it. And but it wasn't painful. It was fine, because they had like padded the wall and all that. So, but yeah, I was well excited to get to do it, because I remember Jeremy, the director, it was one of the very first things he said to me. When he came up, he said, you know that scene that we've got in episode 7, stuff you get plugged against the wall. I'm thinking, you should do that yourself. I was like, yeah, I want to do it, definitely. So yeah, it was great to get a chance to do that. I didn't so much feel like as if I had to step up to a mark, I think, of the likes of Anthony Head or Richard Wilson. It was more, it was, I think, a real chance to get to work with those guys, because Richard and Anthony are absolutely brilliant, and I'm lucky, I think, to get these scenes with Richard Wilson, because we have a lot of scenes together. Not so many with Anthony, only recently I've got to do some with him. But what's great about Richard is we get to develop our relationship over a long period of time, and it starts out quite fragmented and quite sort of, we don't quite blend. And it very much then turns into more of a sort of father-son figure after a while, and that's been really, really fun to develop, and he's hilarious. Richard's such a nice guy as well, which just makes the whole process a lot easier. There's certainly a lot of parallels, I think, between me doing this job and me in real life. I think for myself, coming from Armagh in Northern Ireland, a small town, and coming to somewhere like London, for example, is kind of parallels between Merlin and myself. And also, as an actor, you can never stop learning anyway. But I think Richard Wilson is a good is a good teacher to have. And I think in the scenes, you can't help but rub off and have pick up on his kind of technique as well. Merlin is very much, at the beginning, is extremely naive. I think he comes in and his magic is very much instinctual, and so in a situation where something requires action or some kind of something to be done, he will instinctually use magic. And I think at the beginning, in the very early stages, he just does that. He just does it, and it takes someone to go, whoa, you can't do that. You need to really stop here, because you can get yourself killed. And so in the early days, it's very much understanding the boundaries, knowing where he can go, where he can't go. And I think so far, we're coming up on episode 7, 8 and 9 at the minute. He's definitely very much matured in that respect, being able to sort of manage those boundaries, know where he can go, and also being comfortable with Gaius as well. Their relationship has definitely become a lot more relaxed. As I say, in the very first few episodes, it was quite sort of awkward. So yeah, maturing as a young man and as a young magician, I think. Merlin, without the beard, is not the experienced wizard and warlock that everyone knows. He is a bit of a loose cannon. I don't even think Merlin knows what to expect of himself a lot of the time. He will end up doing these things, throwing himself into ridiculous situations that he can't get out of, and it normally ends up resorting to something that involves a very complicated form of magic that he has to use undercover, obviously without being noticed in Camelot. And yeah, he's a lot more. He's going to be a lot more energetic than the old bearded Merlin, and of course he's got a lot to learn, and the audience learn it all with him. And I think that's what's important about this is the journey that he makes to get to the point that everyone knows.
Yeah, I mean, this castle is very much like a character within the series. I mean, everything takes place here mainly. And we use both the exterior here and the interior of the castle mixed with obviously the studio stuff that we do in Cardiff. But yeah, I mean, the scale of this place, and it really, I think, says a lot about the scale of the show. It's quite big, quite exciting, and has a huge sort of movie-like feel about it. I think, it's every guy's dream to sort of be able to play a part like Merlin, which you have powers that you can only sort of dream of, power to slow down time, and also just an instinctual sort of feeling, and Merlin very much has to learn his skills and realise his destiny, and I think he finds himself in so many different situations where he has to get his way out of, and I think just being thrown into all these different situations myself every day and getting to do something different all the time is just a bit of a dream come true, really. Probably my very first day on set was very, very memorable. There, it's a scene from episode 2, series 1, that if I ever watch back on the series in my old age as old Morgan, I still think that the memories will still be as vivid as they were when I shot that scene, and that's definitely because it was with Richard Wilson, who, little did I know on the day, would end up becoming a really brilliant friend and a really good guy to work with each and every day, and whose scenes I always really look forward to doing with him, despite on the first day thinking, oh my god, I'm doing a scene with Richard Wilson, I have no idea what I'm doing. By far, I think the support that we've got from the fans from the beginning, the people who have followed it right from series 1, even the people who have joined in halfway through, or people who have just been introduced to it now, the support and the absolute encouragement that we've received from people has just been off the scale. Thank you for being there on the journey with us and coming along and enjoying the ride, because it's been a lot of fun. It helps going in today to do the voiceover stuff as Merlin, having had 5 years with the show to build up to it. So it's all been building up to this moment for Merlin. In terms of the accent, haven't done it for all the years, it feels, I guess, reasonably natural. In a studio setting, there's other things to worry about in terms of things that you're probably not aware that you do, which is just sort of the clicking that your mouth makes sometimes when you talk, which is fine for filming, but when you've got a mic that's right here, sometimes that doesn't work and we need to go back and redo the line.
There was something about this stranger from the woods, a touch of magic perhaps. I decided I had to help. It is a land of myth and a time of magic. The destiny of the kingdom rests on the shoulders of a young adventurer. I'm going to tell you a tale about my friend, who would become a legend to the people of Camelot and a great hero of Albion.
I play DS Tom Anderson, who works for the RSAMD. He comes into the second series of The Fall from episode 4 onwards. He becomes involved in the investigation in kind of, an unexpected roundabout way. He's of course very much aware of the investigation that is going on within Northern Ireland. It's on TV, everyone's talking about it, it's on the front pages of the newspapers. That's carried on from series 1, so that it's still going, it's still vibrant, it's still real. And so I think for a young guy like him in the police service, it's a very desirable case to be on.
Yeah, the casting is absolutely brilliant. The whole team is very focused. They absolutely have tread the ground of Series 1, which is very extremely well trodden ground for them, because it was so well mapped out by Alan Kubitt, who did a phenomenal job writing the first series. It was hugely engaging, hugely unexpected, not like anything we'd really seen before, not like anything I'd seen before, and that's why I loved it so much. So coming on board, I was already on board mentally, but to actually come on board and work on it was great. And to come on board and discover that the cast, the crew, everybody working on it are just brilliant, passionate about it, driven, extremely good at their jobs, is really inspiring. Anyone who's been on board from Series 1, I think, are already in anticipation of Series 2 and where it's going to go. Having read the scripts from start to finish, 1 to 6, I could tell that the it doesn't slow pace. It picks up. It gets more intense. The net feels like it's closing in, and it feels like the investigation has upped its pace. It feels that everything is much more complicated, much more diverse, and that Stella has taken steps that I think are highly intellectual, highly complex. We learn a lot more about everyone and everything, and conclusion, I think, is gonna keep people pretty engaged, I think.
The production values in this are absolutely huge, and that was one of the things right from the beginning, was that the stories were so involved and so intricate and so detailed that it needed a vision that matched that. And luckily we have an amazing director, DOP, production team, everyone on it just worked so hard, put 100% into it, and I think that's very evident on screen. Yeah, absolute genius. I mean, I'm not sure even how he started and came up with this. I mean, he spoke about this, his starting point kind of being like Thomas Hardy, but with ghosts, you know, and that is the world. It is that sort of classic, vibrant, lush countryside, but with this very dark undertone going out underneath. So it has a very strong supernatural, psychological, paranormal element to it, as well as being very heartfelt and dramatic. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you're on the cusp of the Industrial Revolution. It was a time of change, a time when people's traditions were being questioned. Darwin's, Origin of Species had just been published, so people's ideas of religion were being questioned. They suddenly now they were looking for other ways of meaning through the occult, through mesmerism, through mediums, some grasp of what it is to be alive. So it is an amazing time of change, and of course all the machinery and people's traditions being quashed by that. It's got parallels with today, with new technology and people questioning. So I don't think we've seen the extent of people's, psychological impact. I think the thing about ghost stories is that they have endured throughout time. We've seen the rise and fall of things like the zombies and the vampires, and that has come and gone. But the ghost story, the classic feeling of that, has been something that has maintained for years. And so I feel there's something about it. There's something that we engage with when we see and witness a ghost story. You're right. I think you hit the nail on the head. There is the possibility. I think we all have this question of meaning in life, and ghosts and the existence of a spirit outside of the life that we live now is a fascinating thing for us. We want to believe it. I think that's maybe what it is. No, we were not far outside Bristol, actually, a place called Horton Court, and it's a character in itself. It's got so much going on within it, and yeah, we spent so much time there throughout. We saw the changes from it going from summer right through into winter, and that's reflected on screen as well. It starts out as this bright, beautiful place, and it very much turns into a dark, twisted kind of world, which is mirroring what's going on with my character Nathan. It's a descent into madness, essentially. I play Nathan Appleby, who is a pioneering psychologist at the time, and he inherits the family home. So he moves back there. There's a lot of dark memories attached to being there, and so the happy life they envision there with his wife, Charlotte, is not quite what it seems. Charlotte Spencer plays my wife in this, and she's absolutely stunning in this as well. She's both of us had to work very closely together and create that chemistry of a marriage. Honestly, that's how I watch TV. I very rarely watch live TV anymore. I was always on catch-up. And it's moving with how people watch TV now, on demand when they want to watch it. I think that's first and foremost what it's been done. It's been thinking about the viewer. It's about putting the drama there for them to decide when you want to watch it, how you want to watch it, under your own terms. And I'm not sure how much ratings mean anymore. I'm not sure. It's not really my area. But as long as people see it, enjoy it, and in their own way, that's the most important thing. Ashley has said, he's very fascinated by the marriage of this couple. I think he feels that it can go further, that he would love to see it go further. Certainly it leaves things open in the end. There is the possibility. If it doesn't, I think it'll be 6 hours of a really intriguing drama that has never been seen in that way before. It's got this other twist to it. It's not quite the period ghost story that you think it is. I love all challenges, really. Anything that pushes you in a new direction to try new things. I suppose outright comedy has not something I've approached. However, there's been comic elements with some roles I've done. I suppose the last proper comic stuff I maybe did was at drama school. Yeah, we're filming the second season of Humans right at the minute, and it's fantastic. The guys have taken it into a whole new area. It's upgraded itself massively. It's on a bigger scale. There's more new characters, new story trends, and yeah, just as exciting, if not more, than the first series.
I think everybody should be aware of this. It's very unsettling, it's very eerie, it's got a very deep undercurrent in terms of how dark it will go, but ultimately it's about a couple wanting to find happiness, wanting to find a new life, wanting to find light. But a big theme of the show is what lies beneath should be kept beneath, and I think that what is underneath the characters, what is bubbling underneath is very dark. Absolutely, Alice Troughton and Sam Donovan are two of my most favourite directors I've worked with, because they're very passionate, they're very driven, and we have a great dialogue of how to work on a character and how to approach it and how to tell a story. Absolutely. I mean, it could easily be the other way, So I think having that support, having that wave beneath you, absolutely helps, because ultimately you're telling stories for people and you want them to enjoy it. You want them to love what you do, and ultimately sometimes, some days, if you're finding it tough, the thought of doing it for people and it getting out there really pulls you through.
What's great is we got the chance to do a bit of rehearsal with James before starting, which is invaluable and rare in the film industry at the minute. I think we're lucky as well that James cast it very well, because I think we naturally got on, and I think doing our own individual research with the letters that these people wrote themselves between each other, and understanding exactly what the bond was between them in such a tumultuous time was, I think, was important. Coming in with those connections, coming in with those feelings, and coming in very much with a duty and a dedication to these people. I think that was paramount, and I think that reflected really then when we got on set together, and we felt it. I think it did feel like a very special moments. I hadn't actually come across the book before coming across the script, so I read it first, and then when I came on board I began to read the book. And for me it was an area that I hadn't really grown up being educated on the First World War, it felt like a bit of an alien world to me. So I felt like I did have to become a little bit immersed in it. Again, I found Letters from a Lost Generation, the letters that they wrote themselves, extremely useful. Just being able to read their letters essentially in what is now going to be their voice in this film. And so what struck me was a big element of what the book's about, of what the film's about, and of what the war was partially about, was youth and how it was lost, and that essentially this part of their youth that was lost is a part that we now in this day and age are very, very privileged to have. And if you take that section of youth out of your upbringing, it makes life very, very difficult, very almost impossible in terms of an emotional point of view. And I think that was so impressive about Vera Britton's journey, and which Alicia gets across phenomenally in the film, is the power to overcome, the power to try to pick up your life after what you've lost. And she lost a massive part of her youth, and that to me is what the film really gets across, particularly to our generation and the people who have been through it, or who know or are very close to people who have been through it. And again, I can only absolutely agree with that as well. We all had our moments with Vera, special moments throughout the film, and they did feel special when you came to them. I think in your head, before you should have seen, you've always got a feeling about it, you've always got an impression about it, but you only ever get that truly and emotionally whenever you're living it. And it felt like we were living it with Alicia. That's what felt so special about it, because she inhabited Vera in every respect, in a truthful and an honest, in such a detailed way that I think as an audience you're absolutely pulled along in the journey with her, and you feel everything she feels, because I genuinely believe she really did feel it when she was doing it. When I walked in, they decided that they were going to treat me as a recently acquired blind resident. So whenever I came in, they put a blindfold on me, and I was given a tour of the building and taken in as a resident there I think it's mostly spent about maybe 5 or 6 hours as a blind person, and they brought me to their workshops, and I was making things. They brought me to their gym, they brought me to the kitchen to try and make a cup of tea, and my responses to that as someone who had vision and then taken away was surreal. Everyone had a colour. I was convinced that the person taking me around was wearing a pink cardigan. She wasn't, she was wearing a green jumper. But, or I went into a room, we sat down and have a cup of tea. I was convinced we were sitting facing a mirror. There wasn't a mirror in the room, because after we had the experience, they took me on the same tour around the building again, but with my sight. And to me, that was a value. It was tough. It did a lot of things to me mentally, and it also the people I spoke to, particularly the guy who had lost his sight recently. It was still very raw and very recent, and so it gave me a real clue as to what that would feel like for someone of that time, and I think they tried to utilise that within the film, but also as a life experience. I think it was something that was really unique. Was that feeling, I think, of a come down in any job that you invest yourself in it so much, you try to dedicate yourself to it 110%, I think, and that if you've done it right, you should have that feeling afterwards. There's something wrong if you haven't, maybe. You have to have the come down. You have to have a feeling of missing it, I think, and yeah, certainly having, when we shot the last day, or for example, when we shot one of the scenes which were key scenes for your character, like the blind scene, which we'd done in the audition as well. It feels like a moment gone. You only get it once for film, and then it exists forever on the screen. And so, but your personal experience of it is kind of gone, and then when the movie wraps, all the people and everyone attached to it are gone too. But then as an actor you have to pick it all up and go on to the next one and put that away in a little suitcase somewhere.
I play Victor Richardson, who is best friend to Edward Britton, who is Vera's brother, who I then inadvertently am friends with Vera. Victor would very much like things to be more than friends with Vera. He's very much drawn to her. Vera is the through line of the story, and as people fall away around her, she's still that train that's just going straight ahead every time, and that's an absolute, testament to her. Mrs. Layton, who's Roland's mother, used to call the three guys the Three Musketeers. So there's a feeling of this little band of brothers together, and that's very much where we find Victor at the beginning, as part of that team on the cusp of life. At that time, there was a pressure and there was a conditioning and there was a breeding amongst those boys to be a part of that scene, in a way, to be a part of that heroics. Certainly in the Uppingham school, the boys' public school, they were conditioned for heroics and to serve your country and to be part of that. I don't feel that Victor was ever fully part of that. I feel that he felt that he should be. And I think it's hard for people of our generation now to connect with that and to understand what it is to put so much trust into something like serving your country, something which you from a young age were conditioned to believe was so comforting, and something that you could absolutely believe in could betray you so badly. There's a real sense of duty. I think there's a real sense of honour and pride, I think, whenever you're representing someone's life, because there's no way they could have ever thought something like this was going to happen, so there's a sense that you then have to do them proud. James is a very passionate director, he's a very sensitive director. I think he's got a real love for this story and this project and a drive for it. And you see that immediately. It's an emotional roller coaster to go through, and it's a very tough schedule for Alicia. She is in every single scene. I think there's maybe 2 scenes where she's not in. They're maybe like 2 seconds long, but she's in every day, and she's absolutely taking it on board the way Vera probably would. I think to have seen these young happy boys marching off to war come back incomplete is really harrowing, and it's really heartbreaking as well. It just didn't occur to them that would happen, and the film does pull no punches in that way. I think it's a film that touches on every generation, I think any gender, and I think any age. For me, it's been an eye-opener, not knowing much about that period. Again, it can feel a bit lost to us. I think it's important to keep that alive, that these are people that we can all be inspired by. I don't think we realise how easy we have it.